Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope, where I'm recording from Barcelona, and what I'm recording is the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 10, which is a huge game week for a lot of people because I know people with the wildcard left are planning to use it this game week. So if you are one of those people, then you've come to the right place, because I'm going to show you what I think is the best squad to have in FPL in the next 4 to 5 game weeks and beyond. I personally have my own wildcard as well left, but I'm not going to use it until game week 19 most likely, because that's going to help me with the double game week in game week 20 most likely for Man City after their blank in game week 18. And I currently quite like my team. It's not entirely similar to the team that I'm going to present to you right now, but it is similar enough where I feel good enough to just keep my wildcard. But I totally understand if you've planned to wildcard in game week 10. This is a really good game week to wildcard because there are some really good fixture swings from a bunch of different players that I'm going to talk about pretty soon. But if you haven't seen this type of video before, what I do here is basically just like a typical NBA or NFL style draft, where the number one player that I present, the number one player picked, is the player that I deem the most important player to have in FPL currently. And then we're going down the list, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and by each position, the player is, or by each draft order, the player will be less sort of essential, if you want to use that word, to have an FPL at the moment. But it's sort of like a ranking of the players that I think are the most important to have in FPL going forward. So let's just move straight ahead to the number one pick, and that is going to be the same as last week, and that is Mohamed Salah. He has proven in the last 2 game weeks that he is probably the best captaincy option in the next few game weeks, even though there are some other good captaincy options that I'll talk about later on in this video. But 15 points and 16 points I think he had the last 2 game weeks or something like that. If you captain in both game weeks, you're going to have a huge advantage compared to everyone else. And I think Nottingham Forest at home, Luton away, and Brentford at home, all those matches you could easily captain him in those game weeks as well. Salah has just been immense this season. He's scored in pretty much every game. The only game he didn't score, the only game he blanked in so far, was against Spurs, when he had the assist taken off because of that stupid offside decision that we all discussed for entirely too long. But either way, Salah has been just amazing this whole season. He has been the essential player to have, not Haaland, which was what we thought at the start of the season, and that's why Haaland has not been the number one pick the last few weeks, because Salah has been really, really good, and really, really like him going forward as well. Don't really have to say that much about him. I think he is the guy to have currently, at least until game week 17 or game week 16. I think he has really good matches. He does have the tough fixture against Man City away, but after that he has 3 easy matches as well. So yeah, Salah is the most important player to have in FPL currently, and I would not have a single wildcard squad without him. And I can't really say the same for pretty much any of the other players, but maybe we can see what kind of case I can make for the next few players as well. The number 2 pick this week is Bukayo Saka for me. He also, like Salah, just finds a way to get points every time. He's also the penalty taker for Arsenal if he doesn't give the penalty away, which he has been known to do a couple times this season. But what's really good about Saka is the fixtures in Game Week 10 against Sheffield United and in Game Week 12 against Burnley. Both of them at home, and Saka, as we know, is much better at home than he is away. So I think those fixtures are just really, really good for him, and that's why he's the second most important player to have in FPL currently for me. He got the assist against Chelsea as well in a game where Arsenal and Saka didn't really struggle that much. I think Saka had a pretty good game, even though Kukurea did a pretty good job on him. But I still think, Saka still managed to get the points, and he's going to get even more points playing against the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley. He could also score against Newcastle away and Brentford away. Those are tougher fixtures, and it's away from home where Saka struggles a bit more, but penalties, being involved in pretty much everything that Arsenal do going forward. He has pretty good underlying stats this season compared to last as well, and he always outperforms his underlying stats. So yeah, I made the case for Saka several times this season, and I'm probably not going to make too much more of a case for him now, because he's just a pretty simple and essential pick, I think, for me. It just depends if you are not on a wildcard, if you want to sell like a popular asset like a Spurs midfielder or a Man United midfielder. Man United midfielder I'd definitely sell for Saka, but Spurs midfielder maybe not, but we'll get to talking more about that later on when we talk more about the Spurs midfielders, which will come up in this video. Number 3, we actually have Ollie Watkins, and he's just been one of the best assets to own in FPL for the past year, basically. Ever since Unai Emery took over for Aston Villa, he's stepped up a level in terms of both FPL and in terms of real life. I think he really wants to make a push for at least being in the England squad. Being the starting striker for England is going to be tough, with Harry Kane being the main man there. But he is making a case to be included in pretty much any squad, because Watkins currently is playing out of his skin. Like, he's obviously had that huge haul against Brighton where he had was it a hat-trick and 2 assists or something like that? I can't remember, something crazy like that. And now against West Ham as well, he had an assist and a goal, a really well taken goal as well. He just looks amazing at the moment, and looking at the fixtures, you can really tell why Watkins is a really popular pick. 2 really nice home games there as well, against Luton at home and Fulham at home in Game Week 10 and Game Week 12. And Aston Villa at home this season, and basically just under Emery, have been absolutely fantastic and just thrashing teams. And when he faces the likes of Luton and Fulham, you can fully expect him to score a lot of points. So I think he might actually be the best captaincy option this week. I think it's between these 3 guys, Salah, Saka and Watkins, who is the best captaincy option in Game Week 10. I would not begrudge you if you go with Watkins, because he is just a fantastic player currently. Plays for a really good team currently as well. Aston Villa have been just amazing under Emery, and especially at home. He's just really nice player to have, and that's why I have him as the best striker as well, ahead of someone like Haaland, who we'll see where Haaland fits into this whole thing, if he fits in at all, but we'll get to that eventually. But Watkins, clearly the best Aston Villa asset as well. I don't think the likes of Medicash and Diaby, Moussa Diaby, have been quite as good lately. But Watkins has just been delivering all the time, and he can get hauls, he can get consistent returns, he can get pretty much everything. So a really good pick, and one of the standout players to have on your wildcard. Next up, we have another standout player, and that is Kaoru Mitoma. He has not been getting that many points lately, but that is about to change, because Brighton's fixtures are changing quite fast, as you can see from Game Week 10. Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Nottingham Forest away. Can't really ask for much better fixtures than that, and they extend quite a bit beyond those 4 game weeks as well. So I think Mitoma has just the mixture of really good fixtures, really good in terms of minutes. He's getting more and more important in the Brighton squad, because Brighton keep losing players to injuries. Latest is Solly March and potentially Danny Welbeck as well. So I think Mitoma is going to play pretty much every game, even though they have Europa games as well to contend with. But I think he's going to play pretty much every game, and seeing as they are such easy games, and Mitoma is such a fantastic player as well, should really go to like a big 6 or like a big 4 or whatever, top 4 type of side. He should really play in the Champions League, because Mitoma is that type of player. I think he's going to get a lot of points. He looked pretty good against Man City now in Game Week 9 as well, but that is Man City away, which is a really tough fixture, so can't really begrudge him for blanking in that fixture. But against Fulham and Sheffield United especially, he could definitely get a lot of points. So I think he is... he's one of the best players to have, obviously, because I have him number 4 in this draft. But Mitoma is just a really fantastic player that I would definitely jump on if you have the chance. And considering his price, 6.5, which is absolutely nothing, you should definitely go ahead and get Mitoma in your team if you have the chance. Next up, we have the first defender on the pitch, and that is Gabriel Magalhaes for Arsenal. Arsenal did concede 2 goals against Chelsea, which was kind of worrying, but it was 1 penalty and 1 freak kind of goal, so I still expect Arsenal to be a really good home team, or a really good defensive team, I should say, and especially at home, even though they have been better away in terms of getting clean sheets the last year. But again, we have those easy fixtures, Sheffield United at home, Burnley at home. Especially the Sheffield United at home fixture is why I really want Gabriel Magalhaes myself for this game week, because Sheffield United are really weak when it comes to defensive set pieces, and we know Gabriel Magalhaes is fantastic when it comes to offensive set pieces. He can score a goal from a header any which game, and especially against Sheffield United at home. I think that counts for double, basically, because Sheffield United conceded a lot of goals when it comes to set pieces. We saw that against Newcastle with both centre backs, or Byrne, who's a left back, and Botman scoring headers in that game. So I can definitely see Gabriel scoring like 15 points this game week if he scores a goal and gets the bonus and gets the clean sheet, which could easily happen. So Gabriel for me is the most important player to have in defense currently. He's also 4.7, really affordable, because he was dropped at the start of the season. I don't think he's going to be dropped anytime soon, because he's been one of the best players for Arsenal ever since he came back. Arsenal have been posting really good defensive numbers as well, so I think Gabriel's spot in the team is secure, at least for the next few game weeks. And I think he's one of the best attacking centre backs in the league in terms of scoring headers, and clean sheet chances are really high as well. Really good fixtures for Arsenal in the next few fixtures. So Gabriel is the best defensive player for me, at least at the current moment in time. Second best defensive player though is Medicash, who is he's kind of dependent on playing right wing. It seems like his stats are just way better when he plays further up the pitch, which is not really that surprising. That's what you expect really when he plays right wing compared to when he plays right back, but he's still a good pick at right back, especially again with the fixtures. As we can see, it's all about the fixtures when it comes to the wildcard. The next 3 fixtures are really good. After that, it should be noted, both with Watkins and with Cash, Aston Villa's fixtures kind of take a nosedive. They have some really tough fixtures coming up after that. But yeah, for the next 3 fixtures at least, Matty Cash can score a lot of goals, or score a lot of points at least, maybe some goals as well. So yeah, he's looking like a really good option. Not quite as good as he has looked previously, because he might play more right back than right wing going forward. But if he plays right wing in any of these matches, he is definitely one of the best chances you'll ever get to get a goal return from a defender. So yeah, Matty Cash for only 5.0, not that much cash, pun intended. He looks like a really good pick. Number 7, we actually have Erling Haaland, who has seen quite the drop off from number 1, which he was previously. So yeah, Haaland is still a really good pick, but it is a case maybe to be made that he might be dropped. But yeah, he still has really good fixtures, Man United away and Bournemouth at home. So he's looking really good for the next few fixtures. But if you have to drop someone like Alvarez, then yeah, maybe that's something you have to do. I say as Kevin walk in, because I'm on vacation with Kevin. But we might do the podcast tomorrow as well. I will try to make Kevin do that, even though we have sort of a busy schedule. But either way, that's not any of your business, because you're watching an FPL video. But either way, Haaland, Man United away, Bournemouth at home. The next 2 fixtures especially are looking really good for Haaland. So I still think he's a viable option, but I think it's more and more a case that you could make for Haaland to be dropped from your team as well. But at the same time, it's difficult to spread the money around and have it be sensible. So yeah, Haaland, he is a good pick still, but not as good of a pick as he has been for the last few game weeks, I think. Especially with the last 3 game weeks in mind, where he hasn't really performed that well compared to what we have seen from Haaland in the past. Number 8, we have Kostas Tsimikas, who is going to play left back for Liverpool going forward. That's a really good position to be in, because yeah, Liverpool are a really good team with really good fixtures. Tsimikas is also on set pieces as well. Slightly worrying that he was taken off after 61 minutes. Maybe he gets taken off early and doesn't get the clean sheet points here and there, but that's the risk you take with Tsimikas. But he can also get attacking returns, so that's why he's also a really good option. So yeah, really like Tsimikas going forward, especially for only 4.5. Really nice price for Tsimikas. So yeah, he's a really good option as well. Number 9, we have Heung-min Son, who I have left out of the team the last few game weeks, and kind of regret that now, because Son is just performing out of his skin this season. Been really good the entire season, scoring goals left and right. Spurs have had some easy fixtures, but Son has just delivered every single time, even in the tougher fixtures as well. And that's why I'm not that worried about his fixture list, because he plays Crystal Palace away, which might not be that difficult of a game, because Crystal Palace just conceded 4 goals against Newcastle. Chelsea at home, they could easily score against Chelsea as well, even though Chelsea are a pretty good defensive side. Wolves away should be able to score there. Wolves tend to concede at least 1 goal per game. And then Aston Villa at home. Aston Villa are good offensively, especially good at home, but away from home, Aston Villa are not quite as good. We've seen Newcastle put 5 past them as well this season, so I can see Son scoring in every single one of these games. So that's why I think he should be in the wildcard draft, even though he is quite expensive, and we've already spent a lot of money on Salah, Saka, and Haaland. But that means that we have to leave out some other players that we'll talk about towards the end of this video as well. Number 10, I actually have a differential sort of pick, and that is Evan Ferguson. With the news that Welbeck might be injured, I think Ferguson could be a really good differential, especially with their fixtures, like I talked about with Mitoma. Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Nottingham Forest away. Really good fixtures for Evan Ferguson, and if he's the starting striker for 6.0, he could be one of those differentials you want to get for the Game Week 10 wildcard. Because I know a lot of people wildcarded in Game Week 8 and gained a lot of advantage from that, from having Watkins and Trippier early and stuff and getting points from that. But Ferguson is one of those ways you can get those points back, because people who have used their wildcard already are not going to bring in Ferguson most likely. He's sort of like an under the radar pick, but for his price, I think he is a really good asset. He scored a hat-trick earlier in the season and can easily do that in any of these games, especially if he gets the game time. And with more and more Brighton players getting injured, Ferguson should get more and more playing time, and that means more and more goals as well. So I think Ferguson is a really good pick, really underrated pick, but at the same time, the playing time is also a slight worry. They could play Ansu Fati up front, they could play Joao Pedro up front as well, and Welbeck is probably not out for too long either, so he is sort of a risky pick, but at the same time, the fixtures and the team that he's playing for as well, Brighton, can score goals left and right, so I think Ferguson is a really good pick, underrated pick as well. Number 11, in goal we have Areola. Don't really have to say too much about this. It's the easy fixtures and the price really for the goalkeepers. There are not that many standout goalkeepers this season, so Areola is sort of the default pick. Yeah, Everton at home, Brentford away, Nottingham Forest at home, Burnley away. even after that, he has pretty good fixtures. So yeah, I think Areola is still the goalkeeper to go for. You could make a case to go for someone like David Raya, for example, or potentially another goalkeeper, but I think Areola, for the price and the saves that he gets as well, is a pretty good goalkeeper to have. So yeah, don't really have to say much more about Areola, because yeah, he's in pretty much every single Wildcard squad that I've seen, and yeah, most people are going with Areola and Turner in goal. Spoilers for the second goalkeeper there. Number 12, we have Cole Palmer, and I don't really think Cole Palmer is the best pick currently in terms of the matches that they have. As you can see, Brentford at home is a good match, but then they have Spurs away, City at home, Newcastle away, which is pretty much like the most difficult fixture run that they can have, apart from Arsenal, who they just played, where Palmer, to be fair, scored a penalty, but Palmer is more like one for the future. I could have gone with Adingra rather than Palmer in midfield and gone with Archer rather than Ferguson up front, but I think Palmer is just a better asset than Archer for only 0.5 more. He's eventually going to become a really good asset in like game week 13, 14, 15 onwards, when Chelsea have much easier matches. So I think Palmer is just a nicer guy to just keep for the future. You can even have both Palmer and Archer eventually if you go with Palmer now. So yeah, Palmer is someone you can just stash on your bench. You need to bench some players, and Palmer is someone who you could easily bench, but you could also easily start him in any game as well, because they could get a penalty against Man City, they could get a penalty against Spurs, so he's not the worst player to start, but he's also a player you could easily bench. So I think Palmer makes sense for his price to be included into this wildcard team. Number 13, we have Jared Branthwaite, who is still sort of like the default cut price pick in defense. He is his number 13th spot from last time around, even though Everton don't have the best fixtures. As you can see, they are all grey fixtures, which I deem is like middle of the way sort of fixtures. West Ham away, tough game, I guess, but you could keep a clean sheet potentially. Brighton at home, another like kind of tough game. Crystal Palace away, I think he has really good chances of getting clean sheets, but he's most likely not going to play that week because Cash, Chimikas, and Gabriel have really good fixtures that game week as well. So yeah, Branthwaite is just someone you could stash on your bench, and I think he's the best value 4.0 defender currently, so that's why I have him in the team. These bench players, as we've seen with, for example, Areola and stuff, and Archer, are players that you just want to keep for the future, basically, and just have on your bench for a while, so you don't really have to think that much about them. But yeah, I think you just pick the players that have the most value in general. Don't really think that much about the current fixtures with the players that you're going to bench anyway, so that's my thinking with Branthwaite, and why you don't really need to think much more about the cheap defenders that you can have in FPL. And speaking of cheap defenders in FPL, we have Taylor as well, Charlie Taylor, the old FPL legend for Burnley at the number 14th pick. Again, kind of like Branthwaite, I think he is sort of the best value around that price point. Could go with someone like Harry Maguire, but he's just slightly more expensive and sort of like, I don't know, he's not quite as nailed going forward as well. I think Branthwaite and Taylor are better picks like in the long term, so that's why I think the current bench players, you just need players that are going to play more long term. I think Taylor is going to be the left back now for Burnley going forward, but he didn't start the season at left back, so maybe he'll be dropped as well, but for now his place seems pretty secure, and Burnley has some okay fixtures at least, even after the 4 fixtures that you see here on the screen. So yeah, Taylor is also a decent option for only 3.9, I think, still. So yeah, really cheap option because we have spent a lot of money on the other players in this wildcard squad. And we're not going to spend that much on the backup goalkeeper either. It is Matt Turner still. He's still the number 1 goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest, even though we all expect Odysseas Vlachodimos to be the number 1 goalkeeper eventually for Nottingham Forest. But yeah, it's not really about the fixtures. It's just about the price here. We just want the cheapest possible goalkeepers, really, because goalkeepers are really boring and you just want to get them out of the way, and that's that, really. So that is the 15-man squad that I've selected for this weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 10. But as you can see, there are a couple of players that are new, and that is Turner, Chimikas, Taylor, Son, Palmer, and Ferguson. So 6 players coming into the team, 6 players have dropped out, and let's take a look at those guys as well. The biggest fall since last time is Moussa Diaby, who I had as my 3rd most important player last game week. I was kind of disappointed with him in the West Ham game, and I've been kind of disappointed with him ever since I brought him in Game Week 8. So I don't really think he's that interesting anymore, and I think there are so many good midfielders, and especially now we meet them as well. Coming into the side, we have a different midfielder who's also dropped out that I'm really sad about leaving out as well, in Jared Bowen, who was the number 10 pick last week, and he scored against Aston Villa, to be fair. But it's just, I feel like Salah, Saka, and Son are kind of like players you need to have on your wildcard. Mitoma as well is cheaper than Bowen and has better fixtures than Bowen, so he takes precedence as well. And then Palmer is just someone you have to have in the team to basically make the money go around. So that's why there's no place for Bowen either. Bowen and Diaby both drop out, but I still think both of them are viable picks, especially Diaby with his fixtures. Bowen as well. Not so much like the fixtures are good for Bowen, but he's just like a really good player in general. And speaking as a West Ham fan, I'm obviously a bit biased, but yeah, I think Bowen is also someone that is in a lot of wildcard squads, and I would not begrudge you at all if you have him in your wildcard squad yourself. But for me, there are just like more like premium and cheaper assets, I guess, that are better value than Bowen currently. But yeah, Bowen is definitely in consideration still. Then Pedro Porro also drops out, even though he got a clean sheet against Fulham. He does play against Crystal Palace now next game week, which is a decent game, but like we saw with Son's fixtures, not the best for Spurs. But at the same time, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Wolverhampton are not the best teams going forward, I guess. So you could make a case for keeping Pedro Porro, but I just think there are better value to be had in Gabriel and Chimikas and Cash for now as well. So yeah, Pedro Porro drops out, but he is really attacking, and he's still also a really good pick still. So really like him. I really like all the players that have dropped out, basically. So there's just a lot of players to choose from, and you can't really pick everyone. Another one is Dan Burn, who also drops out from last time. Newcastle get some tougher fixtures coming up. Not the worst fixtures, but still a bit tougher than they've had the last couple game weeks. So Burn drops out a little bit as well, or drops out entirely. I could also go with Trippier, but that again costs a lot of money. I can't really see how to get the money apart from selling Haaland. So that's the thing you have to think about, I guess. Whether you sell, it's between Son and Trippier is sort of like the cheap move you can do. But if you really want to like change up your whole team, you could sell Haaland and have Trippier. You can have that extra fifth midfielder rather than Palmer. You could have a better striker or a more nailed striker than Ferguson as your third attacker as well. So you'll have a lot more options if you sell Haaland, but at the same time, you can't play them all every game week. You can only play 11 players. So that's why I'm sort of leaning towards not going without Haaland if I was wildcarding this game week, because yes, you get a lot more good players, but you're going to have to bench a lot of those good players as well. And why do you sell Haaland to get Trippier if you're just going to bench Trippier? That doesn't make sense, really. So for me, I still think Haaland is the player to go with, but at the same time, I think Julian Alvarez is probably potentially better value, which kind of is counterproductive in terms of, you have to make a decision there between Haaland and Alvarez, I guess. But I just like Haaland, especially also with the upside we know that Haaland has compared to Alvarez. We know Haaland has been matching Alvarez the last few game weeks, but potentially, like, I would not be surprised if Haaland outscores Alvarez by 20 points for the next 4 or 5 game weeks, but I would be surprised if the opposite happens, if Alvarez outscores Haaland. I would not be surprised if Alvarez keeps up with Haaland still, as he has done the last few game weeks, but Haaland has that higher ceiling, and like I said, you do get the extra money, but it's hard to fit in all the players that you want in a team of just 11 players. So yeah, I would just stick with Haaland currently myself, and that means you have to leave out players like Trippier, you have to leave out players like Bowen. That hurts a bit, but at the same time, you can't play them all, like I said a couple times now. Strakosha also drops out. I had him last week as the goalkeeper. He came in for Turner because I thought Strakosha had the chance to start a couple games, because it looked like Flecken was going to be out for a little while, but Flecken was back for last game and even kept a clean sheet, so he's back as the starting goalkeeper, so no reason to go with Strakosha rather than a starting goalkeeper and Turner. Maybe you want that 0.2 difference in terms of cash. Maybe you don't have enough money to have this team, which is also a viable thing. If you don't have enough cash for this team, you could go for, like I said, Palmer or Adingra rather than Palmer, and dropping down Ferguson to Archer. That saves you a bit of money. So if you don't have enough money for this team, that's something that you can do to get a similar team that is equally or close to as viable. But I just like to have Palmer for the future. I think he's going to be a really good player to have basically this whole season for his price, and being on penalties for Chelsea, who are looking pretty good currently. So yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts for the weekly wildcard draft. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you give this video a like. I hope you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you around a different time. Bye.